if you went to your mechanic and you needed a strut replaced or brake pads replaced,
Right.
you're not going to ask them to see if they can find one used. This is what they were trying to do. We didn't let them get away with it,
Right.
but they tried.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Airing of Grievances. My name is Eric Reamer, and with me today is Rob Grieve's son, Greg Grieve. Greg,
Nice to be here.
man, so good to have you here. Thank you
It's been
very
a long. I'm surprised I haven't been on yet with how long this has been going.
much. I know we've entered our fourth season. That's 3 full years. This is episode number 158. And if you want to find all the other episodes, to find information that's valuable to you, the driving public, you can go to our playlist called The Airing of Grievances with Rob Grieve, and you can see all the different episodes laid out there for you. Greg, super happy that you're here, but before we actually get into the whole thing that we're going to talk about today, we like to say happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
And to you, my friends, happy Saturday, happy day for you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us for ours.
Thank you.
If you haven't yet clicked the subscribe button or the thumbs up, we would appreciate it very much if you do that now. It only takes a moment, and YouTube will notify other people based on your interest in joining us for these episodes. If it's Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. in the Mountain Standard Time, you know we're right here. And we're chatting with you live. If you're in the premiere of that on a Saturday morning, go ahead and chat with us. I know that Greg will be here next Saturday.
I will.
I will not. I'm going to actually be on the road, and I think Rob will be back as well. So there will be coverage there just in case you want to make sure you talk to us live. All right, with that being the case, Greg, today we want to talk about a conversation that you had, a specific conversation that you had with an adjuster for the largest insurer in America.
Correct.
However, this conversation in a variety of forms takes place multiple times every day across multiple insurance companies. And so we're going to kind of get into it, but we wanted to give you a behind the scenes look at what really takes place on a daily basis, and just listen to the sides, if you will, and judge for yourself. Whom would you rather do business with? All right, on that note, Greg, started off with us. You had a call from an adjuster.
Correct. So this was actually an in-person conversation, and to give some background, this was on a 2020 or 2021 Toyota RAV4, very new vehicle.
Yep.
I wrote a $33,000 repair plan, around 33, and this company, the first time they came back with their supplement, they came back at $20,000, which is about $12,000 less than what I wrote.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
That's probably the worst one that I've seen yet.
I've been doing this a little longer than you've been in the actual industry, and they do get bigger. But even still, $12,000 in order for the repair to be done properly
Correct.
means that someone's going to have to come out of pocket, and it's either going to be the people that you pay to take care of you and make you whole, or it's going to be you.
Yeah.
Or there is a third scenario. The job doesn't get done properly. And that's not acceptable for us here at Nylund.
Absolutely not.
Right? Right. Okay.
So a large portion of this difference actually was made up of aftermarket and junkyard parts that they wanted to put on this vehicle. This vehicle
nearly new car.
Nearly new car. This vehicle specifically had severe suspension damage. I'm talking about suspension cross members. A lot of pieces that are safety oriented and affect the ride and quality of the car. So to put aftermarket or used parts on there, absolutely non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable no matter what year.
Right.
But for those parts specifically, they're so safety oriented that it's a necessity. I mean, if you went to your mechanic and you needed a strut replaced or brake pads replaced,
Right.
you're not going to ask them to see if they can find one used.
Never.
You need new parts. They're wear and tear items,
Yeah.
and you don't know what state the previous vehicle was in that they're coming off of, if they're coming out of a junkyard.
Or if they're aftermarket and they don't fit properly.
Correct.
Right. I mean,
Correct.
or maybe they're not. They don't have the same tensile strength that you would expect from the OEM parts.
To be aftermarket, by definition, it has to be different than the OEM part.
Right. Right. And we bang this drum on a regular basis, but we do it for a reason, and the reason is your safety and that of your loved ones' safety. So, let's cover some of the things that you talked about with this. I took some notes. You've got some notes.
I do.
One of the first things that you brought up to the gentleman was that there was no mention of calibration for the forward-facing camera.
Correct.
First of all, why is that important?
So for this particular vehicle, we would have to remove the windshield to perform the repairs. In the windshield, right behind your rear view camera, is a camera, if it's equipped, which this one was, that looks at the road in front of you, and it controls your lane departure alert, your lane departure correction, if that's equipped, and your pre-collision system.
These are all your advanced diagnostics, advanced safety, right?
Advanced driver assistance systems.
That's what I meant to say.
What ADAS stands for.
Yes.
And so these, obviously, safety, vital, and anytime the windshield is removed, it has to be calibrated, because it could be in just a tiny, tiny position change, and that could throw the whole system off. So calibrating these is vitally important. And that's an easy one to get, because you can see it from the front of the windshield. You can see if it has a camera or not.
Right.
So to miss that, I was surprised.
All right. You also talked to him about frame setup. Now,
correct.
When a car gets hit, and there are a variety of different degrees to which the damage is done, but in this case, you estimated that this required a setup on our frame rack.
Correct. So there was structural damage to the vehicle, big structural components that had to be replaced. Anytime, even if it's a quarter panel, which sometimes per manufacturer it's not designated as structural, anytime we're putting on a big welded in component, we're always setting up the vehicle, measuring it to make sure it's within the specification and safe to be on the road once we're complete.
The adjuster from this insurance company said that that was only worth a 2-hour allotment for the labor.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct. That is correct. We charge an 8-hour allotment for that. And before I was an estimator, I was out in the shop and I was actually doing the setup and measure. And I know from experience, it takes a whole day to get the car onto the rack, get it into the fixtures, because it's clamped by the frame, not by the wheels, to a perfectly level surface. So that way the measurement's accurate. And to do all the steps in order to get the vehicle prepared for that, get it in the clamps, measure it, and then get it out of the clamps again, it's absolutely a full day worth of labor. So we allocate 8 hours for that.
And the assumption on the part of the insurer is that either that setup is not necessary, or you're being over dramatic with the amount of time that it takes.
Correct. And this insurance company did agree that it was necessary, but they feel like it's over dramatic. And obviously we disagree with that.
Clearly, I mean, it's not that we are gouging or charging for things that are not necessary, or inflating the rates. It's what it takes to go through the process.
And this industry has been so stuck on the 2-hour allotment for that's what everybody else charges, because they're grateful to get the 2 hours.
That sounds like customary and
reasonable and customary in the marketplace, which we'll get to in a couple minutes, probably.
Yeah.
But everybody's grateful to get that 2 hours when it takes so much more, and they're so used to being beat down by these insurance companies that they're basically abused.
Yeah.
And they're grateful to get the 2 hours versus what they're actually owed for, which is the time that it takes to complete.
That no one goes into business to lose money, and it should not be the role of the collision center to pay for the repair of an accident that took place out there.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
throughout your conversation, and then I'm going to kind of turn it over to you to lead this, but throughout your conversation, you constantly referred back to, I have documentation.
Correct.
I have the original equipment manufacturer, or OEM, documentation that mandates this or suggests this.
Correct.
And again, we mentioned reasonable and customary. The gentleman you were speaking with came back and said, the majority of the shops don't do it. And we
Correct.
talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Rob and I did, about those shops. When they say most shops don't do what we're asking for, it's because most shops, as they define most shops, are their partner shops.
Yeah, they're friends.
They're friends. And in some cases, contractual friends who can't argue with
Correct.
what the insurance company is dictating.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about pre-loss condition.
Pre-loss condition. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Our job as a collision repair facility is to restore the vehicle to its pre-loss condition. So any damage that's not associated with the collision, we're not accountable for. But say, back to the windshield. Say we take a windshield out. It was calibrated before. It needs to be calibrated once it's put back in. That's pre-loss condition.
Right.
Also relates to the appearance of the vehicle, which I'll get to in a little bit. And it's the insurance company defines that as safety, function, and appearance is pre-loss condition. Okay. So we're talking about safety items. We're talking about functional items like the suspension, which is also safety. We're also talking about the appearance. So one of the items specifically that we had a back and forth on a while was the OEM seam seal appearance, which I believe Eric has a picture to put up.
Yeah, and look, you used a phrase that I'm just going to kind of slow you down for just a second. OEM, original equipment manufacturer, we covered that. Seam seal, what is
seam
that?
Seal. So it's a kind of adhesive that goes around the seam and edges of panels to ensure that no water or moisture can get into the compartment of the vehicle or into the frame.
It's a corrosion.
It's a corrosion protective measure.
There you go.
So it's to prevent rust inside of the vehicle.
All right, and we were talking about the appearance of this.
Yes. So when the car is being built at the factory, they actually do this with big robots. They spray the seam seal, and it seals the seams, but it also has a very distinct appearance. And so that's what we're talking about here. So we can replicate that appearance as close as possible, and that's part of our duty to return it to pre-loss condition, is to replicate that appearance. So you don't know if the vehicle has been repaired or not.
Right.
Our goal is an invisible repair, and our job is an invisible repair. So if we were to just go in and seal the seam, which accounting for the function of it, we have the function down with just that one wipe, but the appearance is also necessary because this particular location is extremely accessible, and with just taking off one piece and looking in there, you'd be able to tell that it had been repaired before if we didn't account for replacing the OEM seam seal appearance.
What if the adjuster, and I'm posing a hypothetical here, but it actually happened, what if the adjuster pushes back and says, no one will ever see that?
Like I said before, if you come back in a post-repair inspection and you generally know kind of the area that the collision was in, this is extremely accessible. You'd be able to see it very easily with just some minor disassembly of the vehicle.
What about if they intend to sell their vehicle, and would that be seen and would then damage, would that hurt the value of the vehicle?
Upon an inspection, it could be seen, but standardly you would not be able to see it back there. But that's why I come to a post-repair inspection.
Yeah.
If the vehicle is really being inspected in detail, they would be able to know that there was a repair done there.
I gotcha. All right. Bring up a couple of other points that you had with the gentleman.
So service mode, on almost all new Toyota and Lexus, they have some sort of telematics functionality. So you can connect to the car with your phone, and it'll send you alerts if the car is unlocked, or if a door is left open, or if a window is left open. So it's a necessity in the documentation and for us to put the vehicle into service mode and then back into customer mode when we're completed with repairs, to limit the functionality of those telematics features. So that way if we have the vehicle in the shop and the door's been open for 4 hours, it'll be sending alerts to the guest. Hey, your car door's open, your car door's open. So in order to limit that, because nothing's happening in here that's wrong with the door being open, that's just what happens when you work on the car.
Sure.
But we don't want the guests, being barraged with notifications about their door being open or window being down or vehicle being unlocked.
Right.
And that's another thing that this company denied, was putting the vehicle in service mode, which I did offer documentation, and I did give him the document number, which is almost like the Dewey Decimal System for the repair procedure. So you give them the exact number, brings them to the exact procedure.
And it's available. You could find this.
Absolutely.
It's available on the internet.
Absolutely. You do have to pay a small membership fee to gain access to the site. But once you get that, you get every single procedure for every single Toyota or Lexus or Scion model, which we have to pay for yearly,
right?
As a facility. So if we have to pay for it, why is it fair that we provide it for free?
Right. Right. All right. What else?
So we've got seatbelt and SRS inspections. This is a big one. So Toyota has position statements known as CRIBs, Collision Repair Information Bulletin. And these are, vehicle, make, model, applies to every Toyota Lexus Scion that they make, is seatbelt and SRS inspections. Anytime the vehicle's in a collision, even if it's a scratch, they want you to inspect the seatbelt and airbag system so it's safe in a future collision. God forbid that happens.
Amen.
And safety is a huge deal. It's available very clearly in the documentation. Another thing that they did not have on their estimate.
Did you help them get that on their estimate?
I did. I provided him with I'll provide you with it too. It's crib number 160 that requires the SRS system be inspected after any collision. Publicly available. I personally have found that one on the internet, not having to pay for the site. That one's pretty easy to find.
Right.
But I provided him with that document, and this vehicle ended up being a total. The company didn't even provide me with an updated supplement after this happened.
Really?
They just totaled the vehicle. And it's left our facility since then. But these arguments and being missing on their estimate is still pertinent, because this is what they were trying to do. We didn't let them get away with it,
right?
But they try.
Right, and that's the point of this video today, is that they tried to get away with spending the very least possible.
Absolutely.
And it affects your security. It affects your safety. It affects the quality of your repair, and it affects the value of your vehicle once you get it back from the shop that does the repair. All right, what else we got?
So we've got some position statements. So when I brought up crib number 160, this particular adjuster went into kind of a speech about what this company, their position is on position statements.
Okay.
And he basically said that it doesn't matter what the manufacturer says, it's about what's reasonable and customary in the marketplace.
There's that term
even
again.
And like I said, these position statements, BMW, Audi, all the manufacturers have position statements, because it's a really easy way to say this: either don't do this thing or you have to do this thing.
Right.
And it applies to all makes or all of their brands and models, and it's a really easy way for them to just get one thing out of the way, and you don't have to dig for it every time. It's publicly available information. You can actually go to OEM One Stop, the word one stop, and you can find these position statements available there as well.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that right down in the description box here as well.
And this company in particular just flat out told me they don't really care what the position statement or the manufacturer says. It's about what's reasonable and customary. Even this particular example, he was talking about BMW wheels, and I didn't prompt him to start talking about the BMW wheels, but he said that even if it's BMW says you can't repair the wheels, which is true, they don't want you repairing wheels or putting reconditioned wheels on the vehicle. They have to look at it as, is this wheel repairable? It doesn't matter what they say. If we think it's repairable, that's all we're going to pay for.
Consider the I'll use the word arrogance that comes behind that statement, that we don't care what they say. We're just going to take a look at it anyway.
The people who are responsible for engineering the vehicle, creating the vehicle, making the vehicle, responsible for creating the repair procedures for how it needs to be repaired, because vehicles are always in accidents, and
Sure.
they're responsible for all of this. And I agree, it's extremely arrogant to just say, we don't care what they say,
Yeah.
and this is all we're going to reimburse you for.
There was an exchange in your conversation that was of particular note, and I want you to share that with our audience.
So this particular exchange, we're going back to the OEM seam seal appearance, and his argument was it's not reasonable and customary. Nobody else charges for that. The same song and dance we hear all the time.
Right.
And I was kind of prodding him about DRPs. And with this particular company,
DRP,
Direct Repair Program, the people that are contractually in a relationship with, the insurance company, and they're not allowed to charge the guests anything out of pocket. So whatever the insurance company says it needs is what they have to fix the vehicle for.
right?
There's no wiggle room. And so I asked him, well, they're not allowed to, and he said, no, they are allowed to. And if they don't put it on there, and they feel like they're owed for it, and if they don't put it on there, they're not being smart in a business sense.
Oh,
To which I replied, so you agree that it's smart for me to put this on my estimate because I'm owed. I'm owed for this. We're not doing it for free. Why we shouldn't do it for free? And his only response was no.
no.
It's not smart.
It's smart if our partner shops, if they put something on that they feel like they're owed, but it's not smart if somebody who's not one of our partner shops puts the same thing on.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're not paying either one of them.
And I cornered this particular adjuster with logic probably 3 or 4 times on this particular issue, and he just would not budge at all.
Yeah.
And just goes back to the same talking point of what's reasonable and customary in the marketplace. And
Yeah, and that's really what I wanted to bring up is you provide so many documents. I mean, we have literally stacks of documents that are available to be provided to the people who are supposed to, by the terminology of it, supposed to be paying for the repair. And yet, don't confuse me with the facts, tends to be their basic response, right?
yeah. That's
And
correct.
and they want to throw out, and when you ask for documentation from them, it does not exist. They dodge the question and
Yep.
go back on that reasonable and customary or standard.
And earlier in the conversation, we were talking about refinishing, and refinishing edge to edge, which is what we do here. It's required by the paint manufacturers in order for them to warranty the paint job that we've done.
Right.
And it just basically means that you're painting all the way to the edge of the panel, and you're not breaking it anywhere in the middle that it's going to be exposed to UV. And he claimed to have a document that PPG, which is the paint system we use, allows that. And I have another document that says exactly the opposite thing, that it's not allowed, it's not going to be warrantable.
From PPG.
From PPG, the paint manufacturer. And
Did you ask him to provide the document?
I did in the email. I said, I have this document. I followed this up with an email with some documentation, some document numbers. Like I said, I'll provide them the numbers, the Dewey Decimal System,
Yeah.
so that they can go find the documentation. And I attached that, and I said, where's your document saying the other? Because I would like to see it. If it exists, I'd like to see it.
You're open to learning?
Absolutely, I'm open to learning. And then they never responded at all, and the vehicle's a total loss now.
Yeah. And that's where we're going to kind of wrap our conversation, is that at the end of this, the vehicle became a total loss.
Correct.
Do you find in your engagements with these adjusters and in the insurance companies in general that they step over dollars to pick up dimes?
Exactly. So there was about a 2-week gap in between when the first supplement came back with 20,000 and when they sent the adjuster out to reevaluate it again, because that's not even a starting point for us. We don't even want to ask the guest to cover that amount. We're going to see when they wrote that estimate, what were they thinking? So I requested them to come out again to talk to me about it. There was about a 2-week gap in between there. And during that whole time, we were accruing $75 a day in storage. And they were stepping over, saving that money and saying, hey, this is a total loss. over trying to
Right.
fix it for way less than what it was worth.
If they would have performed the estimate accurately from the beginning, we could probably have saved not just those 2 weeks, but maybe even a little more.
Absolutely. If they had done their job from the beginning, they would have saved themselves thousands of dollars.
It's ridiculous to me, and I've seen this for 15 years now.
Absolutely.
That these insurers stand on a hill that says we will not pay, and in the end they pay more defending their position to not pay than they would have had they made the appropriate repair in the first place.
Exactly.
Greg, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to join us here. And hopefully we'll see a lot more of you.
Hopefully.
I think you'll agree that we got a sharp young man here who is doing a phenomenal job here at Nylund Collision Center.
Certainly doing my best.
As always, we encourage you, if you have any questions or if you need help, if you need a referral anywhere in the country, go ahead and drop us. We've got a contact form on our website, so here's the website. Or give us a call. Here's the phone number. And you can reach out to us. If we can't solve your problem, we probably know somebody who can. And we'll make that referral as well. Greg, happy Saturday to you.
Happy Saturday.
Folks, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thanks for sharing this. We appreciate you, and we will see you next week.